It was this prescriptive will the people of Israel had flaunted, bringing the curses of Deuteronomy 29 upon them. And it is that prescriptive will, even found in the hearts of the Gentiles, due to the imago Dei, the image of God within them, that the Assyrians likewise violated, bringing God's just judgment upon them, even as he used them to punish Israel. Our debate this evening must be focused right here, for this is the foundation of all of our differences. Michael just said he is not an open theist. He has said he is not a Molinist. As far as I can tell, he would fall into the simple foreknowledge view exemplified by David Hunt. That's not Dave Hunt, by the way. David Hunt, in the 2001 IVP work on the subject of differing views of foreknowledge. So, two things, the divine decree of God and the prescriptive will of God, I affirm both of them as necessary to anyone who hears all of Scripture. For example, we know the texts, Psalm 135:6. Whatever Yahweh pleases, he does in heaven and in earth, in the seas and in all deeps. Whatever he pleases. Well, if it's his pleasure to save every person, well, then he can save every person. Could God be a universalist? Could universalism be true? There are some people who say no. Open theists would say no. There are certain Molinists who say, no, God could not save every person if he desired to do so. I affirm he could, not that he would, not that he has chosen he's going to do so, but if God chose to do so, he certainly has the power to do so. Even a pagan king understood this. In Daniel chapter 4, when Nebuchadnezzar, at the end of his period of loss of sanity, says, but at the end of that period, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes toward heaven, and my reason returned to me, and I blessed the Most High, and praised and honored him who lives forever, for his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom endures from generation to generation. All of the inhabitants of the earth are accounted as nothing. But he does according to his will in the host of heaven, and boy, everybody's happy about that. But he didn't stop there. And among the inhabitants of earth, and no one can ward off his hand or say to him, what have you done? The sovereignty of God that is reflected in Scripture is not limited to, well, he has a final purpose at the end and he'll get there somehow. That's true. I'm glad we can affirm that together. But it's much more extensive than that. And Nebuchadnezzar understood it. Nebuchadnezzar understood that he fulfills all his will, not only in the host of heaven, but among the inhabitants of the earth as well. Was Nebuchadnezzar wrong? In the 33rd Psalm, we have that wonderful text where, again, the original language makes this even more clear than we really can almost in English. But in describing God's sovereign creatorship, it says, for he spoke and it was done. He commanded and it stood fast. And because he's the creator, Yahweh nullifies the counsel of the nations. He frustrates the plans of the peoples. But the counsel of Yahweh stands forever, the plans of his heart from generation to generation. Notice the contrast. God nullifies the counsel of nations. He frustrates the plans of the people. But can anyone nullify his counsel? Can anyone frustrate his plans? Well, if the plan of his heart is that every single person is going to be saved, then, well, he's been frustrated, hasn't he? If he's trying to save every single person equally, if he was trying to save Pharaoh and the Egyptian soldiers equally with the Israelites, he failed. What about the Amorite high priest that the children of Israel were told to destroy man, woman, child, and beast? Why not even send him a prophet? Trying to save them all equally? Doesn't sound that way. In fact, it's interesting. The reason I'm going second this evening is because we asked Simon to flip a coin. Proverbs 16:33 says, the lot is cast into the lap, but its every decision is from Yahweh. Is it a chance that I'm going? Well, some people would say yes. It doesn't seem that the biblical writers agreed. Now think about the prophecies. Think about, and this is one of the areas where Mike and I are right on the same page. Think of all the prophecies. Look at Isaiah 53. Look at Psalm 22. Look at the incredible fulfillments in the life of Jesus. Could they have happened at some other point in time? Think of all the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, literally millions of free will choices of human beings that were required to bring about the exact person Herod, the exact person Pilate, the exact scribes and Pharisees and high priests and Roman soldiers that were supposed to be there at that point in time. God's not in control of all that. He's just sort of doing the best he can to make good come out of evil and just sort of piecing things together as he goes along? I don't think so. These are all a part of his creative act. The central act of God's self-glorification, redemption in Jesus Christ, involving the incarnation, the crucifixion, resurrection, is regularly described in Scripture as the result of God's ordination, God's predestination, and God's sovereignty. In Ephesians 1, we are told that God has chosen in eternity not merely a nameless, faceless group to be filled in by men's good pleasure. The beauty of Ephesians 1 is that the choices there are personal. We can sing that song, "My name was written upon his hand." That means it was personal. That means it was substitutionary in his atonement for the individual, not just for a group, but a personal foreknowing and election of individuals who together, according to Ephesians 1, form the body of the elect, all according to grace. So real was this truth in Paul's mind that he could say that he endured all things. Think of all the suffering, all the betrayals, all the heartaches, the shipwrecks, all the long hours and toiling work. And what does Paul say? He endures all this for the sake of the elect. 2 Timothy 2:10. The fact that God has a divine decree is plainly stated in numerous places. In Yahweh's examination of the false gods in Isaiah 40-48. Notice especially this text. Our time doesn't allow examination of all of them, but notice especially this text in Isaiah 41:21-24. Present your case, Yahweh says. Bring forward your strong arguments, the King of Jacob says. Let them bring forth and declare to us what is going to take place. He's challenging the false gods. Tell us about the future. As for the former events, declare what they were, that we may consider them and know their outcome. Or announce to us what is coming. Declare the things that are going to come afterward, that we may know that you are gods. Then it gets downright sarcastic. Indeed, do good or evil, that we may anxiously look about us and fear together. Behold, you are of no account, and your work amounts to nothing. He who chooses you is toevah, an abomination. Now, when God challenges the false gods to prove that they're true gods, the tests he gives them tell us something about the true God. And the true God can tell you the future. How does he know the future? How does God know the future? When God created, did he know what was going to happen when he created? Now, Michael says, yes, he has exhaustive divine foreknowledge of all events. But when he created, did he choose for all those events to take place? If God knew there was going to be evil, the question is, did he have a purpose for it? Not could he make something good come out